There was a miller who left no more assets to the 3 children he had, besides his mill, his donkey and his cat. The division was soon made. Neither the clerk nor the lawyer were called. They would soon have eaten up all the poor heritage. The oldest had the mill, the second the donkey, and the youngest nothing but the cat. The poor guy was quite uncomfortable having such a small fortune. "My brothers," said he, "can make a very good living by gathering up their stores, but for my part, when I have eaten my cat and made a cuff of its skin, I shall die of hunger." The cat, who heard all this but pretended not to hear, said to him with a grave and serious air, "Don't worry like that, my good master. You need only give me a bag and have a pair of boots made for me, so that I may run through the earth and the bushes, and you will see that there is not so bad a part of me as you imagine." Although the cat's owner did not delve much into what he said, he often saw him do many tricks to catch rats and mice, like when he used to hang by his heels or hide in his food and pretend he was dead, so that he did not entirely despair of being given any help in his miserable condition. When the cat had what he asked for, he kicked himself very gallantly, and putting his bag round his neck, he held the cords of it in his 2 forepaws, and entered a hole where there was great abundance of rabbits. He put bran and sow thistle into his bag, and stretching long as if he were dead, he waited for some young rabbit, not yet familiar with the deceptions of the world, to come and rummage through his bag in search of what he had placed on her. At that moment, the full moon cast its silver light over the clearing, creating a magical and enchanting scene. The wind whispered between the leaves, and the soft glow of the stars seemed to conspire with the cat, making the atmosphere even more immersive. Each leaf that fell seemed to tell a story, and time seemed to suspend itself, as if the entire universe was waiting for that magical plot to unfold. The cat, with his eyes shining like 2 emeralds, remained motionless, every muscle in his body prepared for the right moment. His patience was rewarded when a young rabbit, curious and naive, approached the bag. Little did he know he was about to be part of an ingenious plan. And so, the cat waited, with the confidence of one who knew that magic was on his side, ready to transform his master's fortune in a way no one could have ever imagined. He barely lay down, but he had what he wanted. A reckless and foolish young rabbit jumped into his bag, and Monsieur Puss, immediately pulling the strings, caught and killed him without mercy. Proud of his prey, he went with her to the palace, and asked to speak to Her Majesty. He was shown upstairs to the king's apartment, and making a low bow, said to him, "I have brought you, sir, a rabbit from the hole that my noble lord, the Marquis of Carabas," for that was the title he the cat was pleased to give his master, "ordered me to present his majesty in his hand." "Tell your master," said the king, "that I thank him and that he gives me great pleasure." Another time he went and hid himself among some corn stalks, keeping his bag open, and when a pair of partridges ran into it, he pulled the ropes and thus caught them both. He went and made a gift of them to the king, as he had done before with the rabbit he caught in the hole. The king likewise received the partridges with great pleasure, and ordered him to give some money to drink. The cat continued for 2 or 3 months thus to lead his majesty from time to time on his master's hunt. One particular day, when he knew for certain that the king was going to take air along the river bank with his daughter, the most beautiful princess in the world, he said to his master, "If you follow my advice, your fortune will be done. You will have nothing left to do but go and wash in the river. I will show you that part, and leave the rest to me." The Marquis of Carabas did as the cat advised him, without knowing why or for what. The scenery was of indescribable beauty. The river sparkled in the golden sun, and the trees swayed gently in the breeze, creating a natural symphony that seemed to whisper ancient secrets. The sky was painted in soft shades of blue and pink, while the lush green grass around the river looked like a soft carpet inviting rest. The sound of running water was like a magical melody, calming the mind and preparing the heart for the adventure that was about to unfold. With a heart full of hope and a touch of curiosity, the Marquis of Carabas entered the refreshing waters of the river, feeling the gentle current embrace his body. He could feel the magic in the air, a palpable energy that promised to transform his destiny in ways he could never have imagined. Every step he took in the crystal-clear waters seemed guided by an invisible force, taking him closer and closer to a bright and prosperous future. And so, under the protection of the cunning cat and in the enchanted waters of the river, the young Marquis of Carabas began the journey that would change his life forever. While he was washing, the king passed by, and the cat began to shout as loud as he could, "Help, help, my lord Marquis de Carabas is drowning." At this noise, the king stuck his head out of the carriage window and, realizing that it was the cat who had so often brought him such good game, ordered his guards to run immediately to help His Excellency, the Marquis of Carabas. While they were taking the poor Marquis out of the river, the cat came to the carriage and told the king that while his master was washing, some scoundrels arrived, who went away with his clothes, although he had shouted, "Thieves, thieves," several times as loud as he could. This cunning cat had hidden them under a large stone. The king immediately ordered his wardrobe officers to run and fetch one of his best suits for the Marquis of Carabas. The king received him with great kindness, and as the fine clothes he had given him greatly enhanced his good countenance, for he was well made and very handsome in his person, the king's daughter had a secret inclination towards him, and the Marquis de Carabas barely cast 2 or 3 respectful and somewhat tender glances, but she fell in love with him to the point of distraction. The king needed him to get into his carriage and participate in the ventilation. The cat, very happy to see his project beginning to come to fruition, marched ahead and, finding some compatriots who were cutting a meadow, said to them. The royal carriage glittered in the sun, reflecting golden rays that illuminated the path ahead, while the Marquis de Carabas, with his elegant bearing and new royal attire, looked like a true prince straight out of a fairy tale. The king's daughter, with eyes shining with fascination, couldn't look away, feeling her heart accelerate every moment. The air was filled with palpable magic, as if fate was conspiring to weave a new future for the young Marquis. Every movement the cat made, every word spoken, seemed to be imbued with ancestral wisdom, guiding events with almost supernatural precision. As the cat advanced, his presence was like a sign of hope and prosperity. The inhabitants of the meadow, upon seeing him, felt a renewed energy, a promise of better days. The surrounding landscape seemed to come to life, with flowers blooming and birds singing soft melodies, as if they were aware of the grand plan that was unfolding. Wrapped in an aura of enchantment, the Marquis of Carabas, the cunning cat and the royal entourage pressed on, each step taking them deeper into a destination filled with magic and wonder. Good people, you who are mowing, if you do not tell the king that the meadow you are mowing belongs to my lord Marquis of Carabas, you will be cut into pieces as small as minced meat. The king did not fail to ask the harvesters who owned the meadow they were cutting. To my lord Marquis de Carabas. They all responded together, for the cat's threats left them terribly frightened. A truly beautiful property, said the king to the Marquis of Carabas. As the carriage moved forward, the sun cast its last golden rays over the fields, painting the scene with a magical, welcoming glow. The trees whispered ancient secrets in the wind, and the night birds began to sing their enchanted melodies, creating a gentle symphony that seemed to lull the world to sleep. The cat, with a cunning and confident look, led the way, aware that every word spoken and every step taken was carefully orchestrated to transform his master's destiny. Magic hovered in the air, making every moment more intense and engaging. The reapers, now immersed in an atmosphere of respect and admiration, looked at the Marquis of Carabas with renewed eyes. They felt the presence of something extraordinary, an invisible force that guided their movements and filled their hearts with a sense of hope and wonder. The king's daughter, sitting next to her father in the carriage, could not take her eyes off the young marquis. There was something about him that transcended physical appearance, an aura of nobility and courage that attracted her irresistibly. Each exchange of glances between them was like a silent spell, weaving invisible bonds of love and destiny. The king, satisfied with the reaper's response, felt even more impressed with the Marquis of Carabas. The grandeur of the properties that supposedly belonged to the young noble only increased his admiration and respect. And so, under the veil of twilight, the royal entourage continued on its way, increasingly enveloped in the magic of the approaching night. The journey was not just a physical passage, but a journey through an enchanted tale, where each character played their role with grace and mystery. The night promised to be long and full of wonders, and everyone, from the king to the humblest of reapers, was about to experience the magic of a destiny unfolding before their eyes, guided by the cunning of a charming cat and his faithful teacher. "You see, sir," said the Marquis, "this is a meadow that never fails to produce a bountiful harvest every year." 73. Mestre Gatto, who was still ahead, met some harvesters and said to them, "Good people, you who are harvesting, if you don't tell the king that all this corn belongs to the Marquis of Carabas, you will be cut into small pieces like minced meat." The king, who passed by a moment later, needed to know who all that corn that he then saw belonged to. "To my Lord Marquis of Carabas," replied the reapers. And the king again congratulated the Marquis. Mestre Gatto, who always went ahead, said the same words to everyone he met. And the king was surprised at the vast properties of my Lord Marquis de Carabas. Monsieur Puss finally arrived at an imposing castle, whose master was an ogre, the richest that had ever been known. For all the lands which the king had then traversed belonged to this castle. The cat, who had taken care to find out who this ogre was, and what he could do, asked to speak to him, saying that he could not pass so close to his castle without having the honor of paying him his respects. The ogre received him as civilly as an ogre could, and made him sit down. "I have been assured," said the cat, "that you have the gift of transforming yourself into all kinds of creatures you wish. You can, for example, transform yourself into a lion, an elephant, and the like." "That is true," replied the ogre very quickly. "And to convince you, you will now see me transformed into a lion." The cat was so sadly terrified at seeing a lion so close to him that he immediately went into the gutter, not without an abundance of trouble and danger, on account of his boots, which were unsuitable for walking on the tiles. Shortly afterwards, when the cat saw that the ogre had resumed his natural form, he came down and admitted that he had been very frightened. "Furthermore, I have been informed," said the cat, "but I know not how to believe it, that you also have the power of assuming the form of the smallest animals. For example, of transforming yourself into a rat or mouse. But I must confess that I consider that's impossible." "Impossible!" cried the ogre. "You will soon see that." And at the same time he transformed himself into a mouse and began to run across the floor. The cat did not notice this and fell on him and devoured him. Meanwhile the king, who saw as he passed by this beautiful castle of the ogre, intended to enter it. The cat, who heard the noise of His Majesty's carriage passing over the drawbridge, ran outside and said to the king, "Your Majesty is welcome to this castle of my Lord Marquis of Carabas." "What, my Lord Marquis?" cried the king. "And this castle also belongs to you? There can be nothing more beautiful than this court, and all the stately buildings that surround it. Let us in, please." The Marquis gave the princess his hand and followed the king, who went up first. They passed into a spacious hall, where they found a magnificent chest of drawers that the ogre had prepared for his friends, who that same day were going to visit him, but they did not dare enter knowing that the king was there. His Majesty was perfectly enchanted by the good qualities of my Lord Marquis de Carabas, as was his daughter, who fell violently in love with him, and seeing the vast property he possessed, said to him, after having drunk 5 or 6 glasses, "It will be due to you alone, my Lord Marquis, if you are not my son-in-law." The Marquis, bowing several times, accepted the honor that His Majesty conferred on him, and immediately, that same day, he married the princess. The cat became a great lord and never chased mice again, just for fun. The ogre's castle, now belonging to the Marquis of Carabas, was a breathtaking spectacle. Every stone seemed to tell an ancient story, and the corridors echoed with the secrets of times gone by. The air was filled with a subtle magic, a sense that anything was possible in this enchanted place. The princess, her eyes shining with joy, walked alongside the marquis, her heart beating fast with the promise of a future full of love and adventure. The king, amazed by the grandeur of the castle and the nobility of the marquis, felt proud to have found such a worthy son-in-law. As the party unfolded in the ornate halls, with soft music and laughter echoing off the walls, night fell gently over the castle, bringing with it a glow of stars that seemed to dance across the sky. The cat, observing everything with a satisfied look, knew that he had accomplished his mission masterfully. He had transformed his master's life and, in return, found a place of honor and respect. The celebration continued until the early hours, with every detail contributing to the magical atmosphere. The flames of the torches cast dancing shadows, creating an atmosphere of mystery and enchantment. The castle walls, lit by golden chandeliers, seemed to come to life, as if the spirits of the former inhabitants were joining in the celebration. And so, under the starry sky, the Marquis de Carabas and the princess shared a moment of pure happiness, knowing that their lives were forever intertwined. The cat, now a noble lord, looked at the horizon with a satisfied smile, knowing that his cunning and loyalty had changed the course of destiny. In that magical castle, surrounded by wonders and enchantments, all dreams seemed possible. And as the moon shone high in the sky, the story of the Marquis of Carabas and his extraordinary cat was told and retold, inspiring generations to believe in the magic and power of a brave heart.